Good morning, dear students. I am Dr. Chetna Mahajan, Assistant Professor in English at PSPS Government College for Women, Gandhinagar, Jammu. Today, I am going to deliver a lecture on Journey of Raju from a tourist guide to a spiritual guide with reference to the novel The Guide by R.K. Narayan. When we talk about the novel The Guide, it was written in the year 1958. And yes, it became so popular, so famous. It was liked by the public, by the audience, by the readers, that it got Sahitya Academy Award in the year 1960. The same novel, The Guide, was picturized in the year 1965. Now, R.K. Narayan, such a popular Indian writer, was a South Indian writer. His full name is Rashipuram Krishan Swami Narayan Swami Iyer. Now, Raju is the protagonist of the novel The Guide. The whole story of the novel revolves around the journey of Raju from a tourist guide to a spiritual guide. Now, Raju was the owner of a shop. When his father was alive, he used to run a small counter at the railway station. Now, with the passage of time, when Raju took over the responsibility of the family, Raju had a mother. She was widow. And yes, Raju was a very responsible person. And as a young boy, he used to look after the shop as well as he used to look after his mother also. But if we talk about Raju, he was a very hardworking person. He used to work very hard. And yes, we can say that he was money minded also. He was money minded in the sense that he wanted to make money by working hard. Earlier, he had one shop, the shop his father owned, and there were small items his father used to sell, like those bread and cigars and cigarettes and other little things of daily use. But when Raju took over the responsibility of that shop, he added some more useful items to that shop. He added bread, books, newspaper, and slowly and gradually, by earning money, he was able to open one more shop at the village. So he had to hire one person who would look after the second shop that was at the village. So since Raju was a very hardworking person, he loved to look after both the shops. But he himself would, sit at the railway station. He would look after the shop, the small shop they had at the railway station. So, one more habit Raju had. Raju was a voracious reader. He was very fond of reading books, reading newspapers, magazines. In fact, we can say that there was hardly any book at his shop that Raju had not read. Raju had read almost every book that was available at the shop. So then what happened? What used to happen, this used to be the routine actually. Young schoolboys would come to the railway station to catch the train. And Raju, they would stay there for several hours because they would have to wait for their train. And sometimes the train would definitely get late. And yes, they would spend several, minutes or hours there at the railway station. And Raju had the habit of interacting with those young boys. He believed that interacting with them would definitely add to his knowledge. So, whenever he would get a chance, he would interact with those school going boys. Now, as we know that Raju was a voracious reader, he was a wonderful orator as well because he interacted with knowledgeable personalities, with young boys, with and he loved to exchange knowledge on several topics. So ultimately, what happened? Raju became a wonderful speaker. He could interact very well, right? And yes, we can say that Raju was a glib tongue also. Now, slowly and gradually, yes, one more thing. Raju had a friend. His name was Gafoor. Gafoor was a taxi driver. And Gafoor would, fetch people from the railway station and then he would drop them at their respective hotels or guest house, wherever they would stay. Now, Raju had an idea. As we know that Raju was a little money-minded. So he thought of, starting a new business. He thought of working as a tourist guide. And yes, his friend Gafoor really encouraged him to go for it. And yes, Raju ultimately started working as a tourist guide. And very soon he became such a popular figure in that village that people started knowing him by the name Railway Raju. He earned that name, he earned that title, that nickname. He was such a wonderful speaker. People would really get impressed by his way of speaking. He was a very kind hearted person, also. He would speak very politely and in a very sweet manner. People would really prefer to opt for him as a tourist guide. Then, yes, one more thing, that Raju had good convincing power also. He could convince people very easily. So, these are basically the basic traits of Raju. These things can be added to his character sketch also. We will definitely elaborate upon these qualities later on. But yes, he was a glib tongue. He was a good speaker. He had good convincing power. He could convince people very easily. He had that knack of convincing people. And yes, he was money minded. And he was a successful businessman as well, if we can say in a way. Yes, because earlier his father owned only a small shop, a small counter at the railway station. But after the death of his father, when Raju took over the responsibility of that shop, he added certain things to that shop, and slowly and gradually he was able to uh, buy one more shop at a village. And yes, now he has started working as a tourist guide also. And very soon he had become popular by the name Railway Raju. And he had a very good intimacy with his friend Gafoor also, right? And now, one day, what happened? There arrived a couple at the village Malgudi. Now, let me ponder upon the word Malgudi. Now, Malgudi is an imaginary village that we find in the novels or in the works of R.K. Narayan. It's a fictitious place that is created by R.K. Narayan. Now, in that village, a couple arrives. Gafoor goes to fetch them from the railway station, and Raju accompanies him. And just by the name of that woman is Rosie. She is an extremely pretty woman. She is exceptionally beautiful, and she is accompanied by her husband. And immediately, just having a look of Rosie's husband, this man Raju named him or gave him the nickname Marco. Marco, because his appearance was quite similar to Marco Polo. So Raju labeled him or nicknamed him as Marco. So Marco became famous by this name only. Throughout the novel, Marco would be referred to as by Marco only. So what happened? Very soon, Raju and Gafoor realize that both Rosie and Marco do not have a healthy marriage relationship, a healthy married life. They were staying together. Basically, Marco was an archaeologist. He was doing some research work on caves and rocks. And his purpose for coming to this village, Malgudi, was to study some caves. His wife accompanied him, Rosie. Rosie was a beautiful woman, but both of them had frequent quarrels. Both of them had a very harsh exchange of words. So, this way, Raju can make out that both of them do not have a healthy married life. Now, basically, Rosie is a fun loving woman. She wanted to enjoy her life. But on the other hand, if we talk about Marco, Marco is not at all a fun loving person. His main focus is on his studies. He wants to focus on his work, on the caves, right? And yes, he is writing a book also. He's working on some project. He's working on the caves. And he does not want Rosie to disturb him at all because his purpose of coming to that village is simply to work on the caves. On the other hand, Rosie insists on going for an outing. She wants to go out and she wants to go for sightseeing as well. But this man, Marco, is not at all interested in going for an outing. Now, again, they had quarrels, and somehow Raju can overhear their conversation, right? And he can very easily make out that both of them are not at good speaking terms. Then what happened? One day Rosie said that she wants to go for an outing. And if he does not want to accompany him, he must let her go on her own. And Marco says, okay, fine. If you really want to go out, you may go on your own. If she really wants to go, she may go on her own, right? And Rosie also, again, in a fit of anger, leaves that guest house and she goes out in the taxi of Gafur. And Raju accompanies her, and this girl tells Raju that she wants to go to a place where there are snake charmers. She wants to see a snake dancing. Raju feels a little surprised that what kind of demand is she making, but he agrees to this. And ultimately, both of them go to that place where the snake charmers are playing on the flute and the snake is dancing. And when these snakes are dancing, a girl always accompanies that dance of snake. And after some time, after a few minutes only, after listening to the melodious sound of the flute, Rosie could not resist. She started dancing. Now she started dancing like anything. I mean, she couldn't resist. She couldn't stop. She forgot that she is in the market, right? She's the wife of an archaeologist. And she performed so well. She danced so well that everyone standing there was spellbound by seeing her performance. Even Raju, he was surprised, he was shocked. How can she dance so well? Even the dancer who was accompanying the dance of the snakes, even she stopped dancing, but Rosie did not stop to dance. She danced like anything. And then what happened? Raju is completely amazed to see her dance. He's astonished, actually. And then what happened? After the dance stopped, Raju asks Rosie, how can you dance so well? What made you dance? I mean, he could not even imagine that the wife of a research scholar, the wife of an archaeologist, can dance so well. Because we are talking about the society that was a patriarchal society. That was a society that was dominated by men. A woman was known either by the identity of her father or by the identity of her husband. Now, Rosie tells something about herself. She says that she actually belonged to the family of traditional classical dancers. Her mother was a classical dancer who would dance to amuse people. But since she was extremely beautiful, Marco decided to marry Rosie. But he had certain terms and conditions. He said that, fine, if you want to get married to me, or after getting married to me, you will not be allowed to dance, neither publicly nor in the private room. But dance is her passion. She loved dancing. It is in her blood. And she said that that day, she could not resist. She could not control. So she danced like anything. And she really enjoyed herself thoroughly because ultimately she was able to give vent to her pent up emotions and feelings through that dance. Then Raju really recognized her passion. He respected her passion. And as we know, as I discussed this thing earlier, that Raju was a money minded person. Since he was a money minded person, he had an idea in his mind. He decided to organize some shows for Rosie. Because ultimately, what was there, Rosie was quite fed up with her husband. She no longer wanted to be in, relation with her husband. Whatever relationship she was carrying out with her husband was only apparent. But now she too decided that, the idea that was given by Raju was really wonderful. She decided to dance. Now, that was totally against the will of her husband, Marco. Marco would never like such a thing. Marco would never permit her to dance publicly. But Rosie decided to give vent to her pent up emotions. Now, Raju definitely assisted her in all this, right? And Raju organized shows for Rosie. Rosie did not want money. She simply wanted to earn name and fame as a dancer. And yes, Raju successfully organized wonderful shows for her. And yes, Rosie too changed her name. Now her new identity was Nalini, sorry. Her new name was Nalini. Now she became famous as a wonderful classical dancer, and her new identity was Nalini. Now, since she would perform shows, and every day her photograph, her picture was there on the front page of the newspaper. She earned name and fame, not only in that particular village, but even the people from the surrounding villages would come and watch her wonderful dance. She became a celebrity. And Raju really assisted her in all this. Now, what happened? Marco decided that he won't allow Rosie to stay with him. And Raju decided that, okay, fine. If Marco does not want Rosie to stay at Marco's place, he would definitely take him away. He would take her to Raju's house, right? And now what happened? Raju's mother, Raju brought that girl home. He brought Rosie home. But Raju's mother did not allow Rosie to stay there. But Raju was adamant. He said, no, she would stay there. What's wrong in her staying at his place? And Raju's mother said that we cannot allow a girl to live at their place without, Raju is not even married to her. And moreover, that girl is married to someone else. So how can she allow, or how can she permit Rosie to stay at their place? So what happened? This man, Raju, was quite adamant. He said that no, Rosie will stay there. Raju's mother said if Rosie would stay there, she would leave the house. Raju said, okay, fine. If you want to go, you may go. But Rosie will not go anywhere else. And ultimately, Raju's mother goes out of the house. She started living with her brother, and Raju and Rosie started living at Raju's place. She was earning her name day by day. She was becoming an even more popular figure, a big celebrity she had become. And ultimately, one day, what happened? This man, Marco, sent divorce papers to Rosie, which initially Rosie was a little reluctant to sign those divorce papers, but ultimately she signed those divorce papers. And then one fine day, this man, Marco, sent a parcel full of gold. That gold actually belonged to Rosie. Yes, we can say that Marco was an honest man. He decided to return the gold of Rosie that belonged to her. He decided to return it to Rosie only. And what happened? He made a parcel that was full of gold and he sent it to Raju's place. And Rosie was busy with her fans. She was busy in giving autographs and she was trying to answer their questions and she was attending to her fans and all. She was a little busy. And this man, Raju, received that parcel. Now, different critics have different views on this. Suddenly, something came to Raju's mind, and he decided to forge the signatures of Rosie. And he received that parcel. Now, different critics have different opinions on this. Some of the critics say that Raju was money-minded. He was greedy. He was avaricious. He couldn't resist on seeing a parcel full of gold. Some critics say that Raju was in love with Rosie. And when he found that this man, Marco, had returned the gold that belonged to Rosie, Rosie might return to Marco. He did not want to lose Rosie. So different critics have different opinions on this. So he forged the signature of Rosie. Now, Raju had an assistant whose name was Money. So Money informed the police about his act of crime. As a result, Raju got imprisoned. He got an imprisonment for 2 years. And it was really a big shock for everyone because Raju was such a popular figure in that village that people knew him by the name Railway Raju. People loved him. People would love to interact with him. And moreover, after organizing these dance shows for Rosie, he had become an even more popular figure. But now he was arrested by the police and he was sent to the jail for 2 years. Now, after Raju was released from the jail, Raju's behavior in the jail was pretty good. He was a very disciplined prisoner. As a result, he was released 2 months earlier than his period of punishment. Now, when Raju is released from the jail, he decided, he was in a dilemma, what way he should go, whether he should go back to his village or he should go somewhere else. Now he was a little perplexed. He did not want to go back to his village. No doubt his mother was there, Rosie was there. But if he go there, he would have to face the public, which he did not want to. He did not want to face the same people again because he was returning from jail. So he decided to go the other way. The other way, he kept on walking. He did not know where he was going, but he kept on walking. And yes, ultimately he was tired. He reached at the village Mangal. Now on the pavement, he's dead tired, he's exhausted. He decided to lie down for a few minutes. And when he decided to take rest, he fell asleep. He did not know at what time he fell asleep, but yeah, he fell asleep. And after some time, what happened? you know. Basically, the people of the village Mangal were waiting for a Mahatma. They were waiting for a saint, for an ascetic to come. And that ascetic did come, and he had draped a saffron color cloth around his body. But when he found that Raju was sleeping on the pavement, he was shivering with cold, he he put it off, and he gave it on the body of Raju. Raju was sleeping at that time. So he spread it over the body of Raju. Now, Raju woke up after a few minutes, and he saw that a saffron color cloth was lying on his body. So what he did, he draped the same saffron color cloth over his body. And as a result, what happened? There was a villager, his name was Velan. Now, Velan misunderstood Raju as a sannyasi, as a Swami. He thought that he is the Swami, he is the ascetic whom the villagers had been waiting for. So he spread this news across the village that Swamiji had come. Now, basically, Raju was not a Swami, he was not an ascetic, he was not a sadhu, he was not a saint. He was not a spiritual guru. But he was misunderstood as a spiritual guide, as a Swami. Now, as we know, the people of typical 18th century India, they were really overwhelmed by this feeling that such a great spiritual guide has visited their place, their village. So people rushed in. Now, Raju was feeling hungry because he was tired and he had no money. He was literally famishing. And people of that village, they rushed in. Raju tried to tell them that he is not a Swami, he is not a spiritual guru, he is not a saint. But nobody was ready to listen to him because people were really swayed away by the idea that no, a spiritual guru has visited their village. And people started offering him fruits, milk, juice, fruits, food, rice, sabzi, roti, and what not. He was offered so many things by the people, and yes, even money. And Raju was really surprised that just by doing nothing, he is getting so many things. And still, he tried to be honest. He tried to tell the truth to Valen, but he was not ready to listen to him. So even Raju loved this because he was already hungry. So he decided to eat food first. And yes, he also realized this thing that without doing anything, you're getting fruits, food, milk, juice, and even money. So he decided to pretend that he was a saint only. He was a spiritual guru only. And then what happened? This man, Valen had a sister who would not get ready to who was not ready to get married, right? Many people tried to convince her, but she was not ready to get married to anyone. And then what happened? Velan discussed this problem with Raju. Now, Raju, as we know, as I discussed, one of the main characteristics or one of the main traits of Raju's character, that Raju had a very good convincing power. He could convince people very easily. And yes, he convinced the sister of Valen. He convinced the sister of Valen to get married, and she got convinced very easily. And immediately after that, the entire folk of the village, they were surprised. They started chanting the name of Raju, ki no, Mahatma Ji ki jai ho. He had done such a wonderful thing that nobody could do, but Raju could do this in few moments. So he was a real Mahatma for the people. But in actuality, all of us know that Raju was not a Mahatma. He was not a saint. So he continued his life as a fake spiritual guide. Now what happened? Soon the village, Mangal, was stuck with a drought. Now there is no water. As a result, the crops started drying up. There is earlier in the initial stage, there was scarcity of water, but after a few days, there is no water at all. And as a result, the crops dry up, the cattle started dying, even the small children, many people started losing their lives. So it was a very critical time. So people approached Raju. They tell him that you please fast till death, because it was their belief that if a spiritual guru fasts till death, then definitely the problem will get solved. As a result, they forced Raju to fast till death. Now, as we all know, that Raju was not a real spiritual guide. But yes, when people insisted on him that he should work as a spiritual guide, he should fast till death, then he was forced to keep a fast. And yes, we know one thing. What is the motive of a fast? The motive of a fast is to detox the body, to purify the body, to cleanse the body. And yes, after 1 day, then after 2 days, then after 3 days, days pass by, Raju does not eat anything, and his body gets detoxed, then purified, and then cleansed. And yes, ultimately, when our body is clean, our mind gets cleaned automatically. We develop a kind of connection with God. And yes, Raju develops a connection with God. Now, several days pass by. People from far-flung areas come to take an interview of Raju, that he was a real spiritual guru now, right? He was fasting till death. Even Rosie and his mother came to know about the existence of Raju, or about, yes, the presence of Raju in that village. And they came to meet him. And yes, a few more days passed by, and people are dying of hunger. Children, small children, are suffering because they are thirsty. They have no food. And ultimately, what happened? Raju says that it is raining. It has started raining. It is raining in the hills. It's water everywhere. Water is coming down from the hills. It's water up till the knees. It's water everywhere. And immediately after saying these lines, Raju dies. And people of the village, they start shouting, yelling. They just came out of that room where Raju was. And yes, they realized that water was coming down from the hills. It had started raining in the hills already, and very soon it would rain there also. And yes, it did start raining there also. So how did Raju come to know that it was raining in the hills? This means that he had really developed a connection with with God. He had really developed a reunion with God. So this is what the novel The Guide is about. It's about the journey of Raju from a tourist guide to a fake spiritual guide, and then to a real spiritual guide. This is the novel all about. This is my lecture all about. Thank you.